What if I told you the US government once tried to build a flying saucer, tested radioactive clouds on its own citizens, and then erased the evidence? What if I told you these weren't conspiracy theories, but declassified historical programs hidden for decades? Tonight, we pull the curtain back on Project 1794, the Green Run, and several other government operations designed to stay buried. This isn't about aliens. This isn't science fiction. This is documented in American history they never wanted you to see. Stay with me, because once you learn what these programs reveal about power, secrecy, and human experimentation, you'll never think about the government the same way again. For most of us, secret government programs sounds like a mix of conspiracy and sci-fi, but the truth is far darker, because throughout US history, the government has run projects so bizarre, so unethical, so unbelievable, that even Hollywood wouldn't dare write them. And what's worse, almost all of them were hidden behind national security, buried in sealed archives, or denied for decades. But classified files don't stay locked forever. Today, we're going through declassified documents, US Air Force archives, and Freedom of Information releases that expose some of the most shocking operations ever approved by Washington. Let's start with something that sounds impossible, yet is 100% historically real. Project 1794, the US planned to build a real flying saucer in the 1950s. The US Air Force quietly funded a Canadian aerospace company called Avro Canada. Their goal, not a jet, not a bomber, but a literal flying disc. Yes, a saucer. And this wasn't a hobby project. The files show a $3.2 million budget, over $30 million in today's money. The Air Force wasn't joking. They wanted this craft to fly at 2,300 mph, reach 13,000 meters, and operate like a UFO vertical takeoff. Silent hover, instant direction changes. Why build this? Because the Cold War was boiling, and the US wanted a weapon the Soviets couldn't predict. But reality hit hard. The prototype, called the Avro VZ-9 Avrocar, barely got 3 feet off the ground. It wobbled, overheated, and handled like a drunk lawnmower still. The most chilling part, the final report concluded that with more funding, the disc could reach supersonic speeds. The project didn't fail. It was abandoned. And we still don't know what the Air Force did with the research that followed. Some engineers claim the tech was absorbed into later black-budget aerospace programs. But let's go darker, because the flying saucer wasn't even the most dangerous idea. The Green Run radioactive fallout on American citizens. 1949, Washington State classified operation called Green Run quietly releases radioactive iodine-131 into the air. Not in a small lab, not in a controlled bunker, but over 500,000 unsuspecting Americans. Why? Because the US wanted to test Soviet-style nuclear production methods. To do that, they needed to simulate a Soviet radiation signature, so they dumped unfiltered radioactive material into the atmosphere. No warnings, no evacuation, no consent. Children breathed it. Farmers absorbed it. The fallout drifted for miles. For decades, no one knew. Only in 1986, under pressure, did the government finally admit it. This wasn't an accident. It was a test conducted on the American public. And it wasn't the only one. Project MKOFTEN, the CIA, and the occult. When people talk about the CIA experimenting with drugs and mind control, they mention MKOFTEN, but almost no one talks about MKOFTEN. The program's so disturbing, the CIA barely acknowledges its existence. MKOFTEN wasn't just about drugs, it was about the supernatural. According to declassified fragments, the CIA hired psychics, mediums, sorcerers, astrologers. They tested possession, rituals, occult symbolism. They studied paranormal weaponization. Documents showed the CIA literally tried to measure whether demons, spells, or curses could be used against enemies. Absurd, yes, but the fact that it was funded and real is what matters. The US intelligence community was willing to explore anything if it meant gaining an advantage. When taxpayer money is going into sciences and witchcraft, you know something is wrong at the deepest level. But wait, it gets even darker. Operation Paperclip, importing Nazi scientists after World War II. The US quietly brought over 1,600 Nazi scientists, engineers, and doctors. Not low-level technicians, but people deeply involved in human experiments, racket weaponization, chemical agents, torture, research instead of prison. They were given American homes, salaries, labs, and security clearances. The most famous, Wernher von Braun, Nazi SS officer, later the father of NASA's Saturn V rocket. Officially, this was to beat the Soviets to space. Unofficially, it imported a scientific culture that had zero ethical boundaries. Paperclip wasn't just a recruitment program. It was a moral compromise so deep the government denied it for years. Booty, even that isn't the worst. What all these programs will reveal when you look at Project 1794. Green Run, MKOFTEN, Paperclip, and Sunshine together. A pattern emerges. Whenever the government believes secrecy is justified, ethics disappear. If a project promises military advantage, scientific curiosity, or geopolitical dominance, the boundaries of morality aren't just stretched, they're erased. This should terrify you, not because these programs happened, but because they were hidden for so long, and we only found out by accident. So the real question is, what hasn't been declassified yet? Next episode tease, if these programs, flying saucers, radiation experiments, occult research, Nazi scientists, stolen remains were once secret, what else is buried in the archives right now? And, more importantly, what programs are running today that we won't know about until 2050? In the next episode, we're re-diving into the top-secret CIA projects, still classified, including one involving sound-based weapons so powerful they can shatter the human nervous system. Hit subscribe, stay curious, and never accept the official story without reading the declassified version.